Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we have the brand new Tier 10 Premium Japanese Heavy Cruiser, the Kushiro import to review for you guys today. Kushiro is a ship that we can get in the anniversary event for our festive tokens. It costs a whopping 10,000 festive tokens, which is either a lot, maybe not so much, depending upon how many ships, of course, you have in your port and all that jazz, but definitely obtainable by, I would imagine, a fairly large chunk of the community. So this is a free ship that you can get by simply playing through the anniversary event and cashing in your festive tokens. Now, free ships don't have the best reputation in World of Warships. Wargaming tends to make most free ships pretty subpar. But is that the case with the Kushiro? We're going to take a look at her today, go over her quirks and features, and give her a score. So, with that out of the way, we have to give a massive shout out to the channel's Patreon supporters. While this ship was a free ship, every other ship, of course, that we get, well, just about every other ship that we get here on the channel to review is not. And I am not a CC, so I don't get any of those ships to review for free. So we have to acquire them using the funds that are donated by the Patreon supporters or through the ad revenue that the channel does make. So again, massive shout out to those guys whose names should have popped up on screen. And if you wish to be oh so generous, Patreon is linked down below. Best place to support the channel besides, of course, watching the streams and videos. But the Kushiro, what is it? Well, the Kushiro is, well, not so surprising. It's a fair amount of kit bashing from Wargaming. What we have here is the Takahashi hull, the Japanese light cruiser hull, with the Ibuki guns that can 360 with Zhao's stock torpedoes and a couple other twists here and there along the way. So it's an amalgamation Frankenstein Japanese cruiser, kind of, sort of. And I mean, like, you know, when I read that it's got a fair amount of Ibuki in it, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. I like the Ibuki. Most players like the Ibuki when they go through their Japanese cruiser grind. But yeah, there's a couple of the twists along the way. So we'll take a look at that here right now. So, starting off with the exterior, this is the camo that you do get with the ship. And it looks fine, looks great. Again, I'm just happy it's not gray like so many other camos that we've gotten in the past. So good on Wargaming for that. As far as the economy goes, it is a Tier 10 special ship, technically not a premium ship. So you do not get the baked-in premium economic bonuses that you would find on like Tier 9 and below premium ships, but you do get a 50% buff to the credits and 100% buff to the various XPs that this ship does earn. And this is the these are the economic bonuses I was running throughout the night. So if you see the end screen on the games or the gameplay section, that performance is with these bonuses. But the armor. So the ship's armor is, well, it's thin. Again, it's a Takahashi. So 25mm bow, 30mm upper belt, 30mm torpedo protection, 25mm stern, 25mm stern deck, 25mm bow deck. Central deck is 30mm. The superstructure plating up here is 13mm thin, 16mm there, and 16mm for the forward superstructure. So again, very thin armor. Citadel, if you're wondering, is quite large. Again, it's a Japanese light cruiser hull, Takahashi, so no surprises there. 40mm Citadel bulkhead beneath the water. 105mm armor belt. You got some angled slopes here of 65mm. The top is 33. 60mm back here. Yep, still 105. So you just get those angled slopes right there. So, to no one's surprise, of course, if you punch this thing in the right place, it is quite squishy. 150mm on the bow end, 160mm on the bow end, and then 160mm, 150mm, 100mm on the stern end. So yeah, I mean, if you shot at a Japanese cruiser, you know how explodey they like to be. Survivability with the commander skill and the flag, you can get it up to 57,450 HP, which you are very much going to want to do. I mean, again, very squishy ship. You want all the HP you can squeeze out of it. 13% torpedo damage reduction if you do manage to get some torps to hit the blisters. The guns, though, you do get 10 203mm main battery guns. The reload time base is 11 seconds. I do have the reload module on here, so that takes them down to 9.7 seconds. They have a 180-degree turn time of 34.5 seconds, and that's without anything being built into them. And every single turret does 360, which is super, super nice. And I find, for the most part, they can keep up with your maneuvers, so that's also pretty nice. Maximum dispersion of 151 meters. That is normal cruiser dispersion. Does not get the improved dispersion that you find on, like, the Zao. So normal cruiser dispersion with a maximum base range of 17.2 kilometers, which I find pretty comfortable. Maximum HE damage is 3,300 with a 17% fire chance. You can pin 34 millimeters of armor, which is fantastic, which means you're getting over 32 millimeters of armor. So great stuff there. Initial velocity is 840 meters a second. The shells do slow down quite a bit in flight, but if you play Japanese cruisers, it really shouldn't be a problem. AP shell damage maximum is 4,700, and it too comes out the tubes at 840 meters a second. You do get 12 100mm guns as secondary guns, but these guys are really more about AA defense than secondary, so no, it's not a secondary ship. Torpedoes! You get 16 of these 610mm torps. They reload in 90 seconds. The base reload time is 100, but we've gotten them down to 90. Maximum range is 8 kilometers, and the damage is 24,572 with Pack-a-Punch. Before there, it's like 21,000 and change, but 24k, that's pretty nice. They travel at 76 knots and have a detection range of 1.8 kilometers. You do get 2 attack flights with the ASW aircraft. It only goes out to 8 kilometers, though. A rating of 76 is Japanese AA, so it's mostly theoretical. Maximum speed with the speed flag, 36.2 knots. Pretty fast little ship. You have a turning circled radius of 860 meters and a rudder shift time of 6.8 seconds. It is 8.8 seconds base. I do have the first rudder module on here, so pretty nice rudder shift time too. Concealment with the commander skill and the module will get you down to 10.3 kilometers, which is very, very nice. Alright, for her consumables, this is where things really start to get interesting. So, yes, you get hydro and exhaust smoke. Quite an interesting combination there. So, we'll talk more on that in a second. So, exhaust smoke, with the build that I'm running, it lasts for 43.6 seconds, has a cooldown time of 114 seconds. You get 5 charges of it with Superintendent. You get Hydra that goes up to 5 kilometers, and if you build into it, is active for 145 seconds. So you get 2 minutes and change out of the Hydra, which is crazy. And you get your choice of fighter or spotter. You can choose between Hydro, Acoustic Search, and the wrong option right here. So yeah, it does come with the heal flag, and of course all the buffs to the health of the ship. You are regenerating 344 HP per second. And yeah, so that's the equipment and the modules. Sorry, that's the equipment and the consumables. So I already have a build on the ship that's been working for me pretty well, so we're going to go ahead and just hop right on into that. So for the module build, I'm running Main Armaments Mod 1. Of course, we want the torpedoes and the main battery guns to, well, function and survive the match. So this reduces the chance of them becoming incapacitated by 20%, buffs their survivability by 50%, and reduces their repair time by 20% for the guns and the torps. I am then running the Coal Hydro Search mod, which gives us an additional 20% runtime to the Hydro, which is very nice, so we want to get that out as far as we can. And then I'm also running the Coal Smoke Generator mod 1, because, well, you know, the smoke is what really makes this ship. And we want to have that bad boy running for as long as possible. So that's why I took the Smoke Generator Mod 1 for a 20% buff to the runtime of the smoke. Then took Steering Gears Mod 1 because this is very much a light cruiser hull, and we don't want to get shot. How do you not get shot? You wiggle around. This makes wiggling around that much easier with a 20% buff to the rudder shift time. As you notice, our detection range is down to 10 kilometers. That's thanks to Consumables System Mods 1, which gives us an additional 10% buff to the detection range of the ship. And in a ship like this, being able to disengage when you want is massive, and this gives you the ability to do that even when your smoke generator isn't up at that moment. Then went ahead and took Main Battery Mod 3. There's a lot of debate there between taking Main Battery Mod 3 and maybe taking the Torpedo Mod 2 to give us another 15% buff to the reload time of the torps. But I find that Main Battery Mod 3 is the way to go with getting that reload down to, 8 seconds? I'm sorry, 9.7 seconds. So, yeah, getting these guns going that fast is really nice and definitely helps the ships out. I would not take range module with the way that the air drag works on these shells. You're not going to be really dunking at that range, and you have the spotter to do that anyway if you really do need to reach out at those ranges, which I found wasn't too often. So, yeah, definitely go for the DPM on the main battery guns and take Main Battery Mod 3. Alright, for the commander skill, went ahead and took Preventative Maintenance because if our engine or our rudder does get knocked out, we want to still be able to maneuver in some way, shape, or form, especially in a cruiser that's, well, got no armor like this one does, so you definitely want to take that. Then took Fill the Tubes for a 10% buff to the reload time of those 24K torps. Then took Consumable Enhancements to give another 10% buff to the runtime of Hydro and our smoke generator. Took Pack-a-Punch for a 50% buff to the torpedo damage. And it did give us a 20% buff to the secondary battery firing range, but again, don't worry about that. Adrenaline Rush is something I would just take on everything. You get a buff to your reload time for the damage that you take. So for every percentage of HP that you lose, you get a 0.2% buff to the reload time of all the armaments of the ship, which is free DPM, so I don't see why you wouldn't take it. Then, of course, took Survivability Expert for an additional 450 HP per tier. So that gives us another 4,500 HP on the Kushiro. And then Superintendent for additional charge of our Hydro, Smoke Generator, Heal, and our Spotter. More heal, more HP you can get back, more smoke, that's great. More hydro, fantastic. Then lastly, of course, Concealment Expert to give us another 10% buff to our detection range, giving us that lovely 10 kilometer concealment. And of course, these are the flags that I am running on the ship as well. So that's the build of the Kushiro. How do you get this thing before we move on to the gameplay section? So you head on over to the armory, and, well, it's right in your face. You'll see Sail into a New Decade with Kushiro. Click on right here. Here she is. 10,000. Well, of course, it disappears when I click on it because I already bought it. 10,000 festive tokens. The tokens you get for entering into matches with your ships. There you go. So, again, for someone like me that has 500 ships, it wasn't really a tall order to get. Obviously, that's not everybody, and it is, a sizable chunk of tokens one way or another. But it's really not that bad. And you know what? We're going to talk about that more in the gameplay section, which will start right now. Alright, boys and girls, voiceover Sealord here. So, Kushiro. Free ships tend to go one of one ways in World of Warships in the past, in that if it's free, it tends to be not a great ship. That's how I would say 90% of previous free ships have gone in the past. Which, of course, leads all free ships to kind of get that stereotype about them. So actually, when Kushiro was announced that it was going to be a free ship, it was like, oh man, I don't really know how this thing's going to do. And even myself, when I was looking at it in the dev blog and on the podcast with Captain Green, I was like, this kind of seems like a free ship. Because the way the ship was framed in the dev blog and in most things that I read about, it was like, oh, it's got 8 kilometer torps, got a smoke generator and hydro. and they mentioned it was meant to be played more at closer range. It was like, oh god, they made a YOLO out of a Takahashi, right? It's like, oh well, that's just not a recipe for success. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be a free ship. It's going to be a pretty terrible ship. Then I played it, and you know what? Considering especially that I built heavily into the torpedoes with my Kushiro build, the ship does pretty dang well with the main battery guns, just with the reload mod on them. Which is what I was doing most of the night when I was playing the Kushiro. You can go check the stream from Friday. I played the Kushiro for most of the 3 hours that that I was streaming, and there is a big problem with it that's going to keep a lot of people from getting it, in my opinion, missing out on a pretty good deal. The fact is, this is a good ship. It's good at what it does, which is it really plays more like a, open water, kitey cruiser that can wiggle around a lot. Very much like the Japanese light cruisers, which I actually enjoy the Yodo line. I know a lot don't, but I think it's a pretty fine line. You do that, you've got the 203mm guns with the reload module. Get a pretty nice constant stream of shells going downrange, 17% fire chance, you're setting fires, you're annoying the hell out of the enemy ships, and now they're pushing into you. And you can use that smoke generator in one of two ways. One way is that you can, fly close to the sun, dump torps at the enemy ships. I'm not talking about rolling up to them like in Apollo, right? That's absurd. I mean, sure, you can probably do it if you're like on an island. There's a ship on the other side of the island that doesn't have hydro at high tier, which good luck with that nowadays, right? Running to a ship that doesn't have hydro or radar either on it or on another ship nearby. Sure, you can push around the corner and throw some torps into it. I mean, 24k alpha per torp, you're doing over or just under 100k per rack. You have 2 racks per side. No tier 10 ship is surviving 2 racks of this thing, right? At least with the build that I have on it. So, yeah, theoretically, you could do it. But what I found greater success in doing is, oh, this guy's like 10 kilometers away from me. I'm going to run toward him, pop my smoke, dump my torps, and then I'm going to run away, and I'm going to fire at him to kind of entice him to open up, with his broadside, because he sees the juicy Japanese cruiser. He's going to try, get all his guns on me and one-tap me. And then in the middle of him doing that, hi, here's these 24k alpha torps, goodbye. That's kind of how it worked for me throughout the night. And again, the guns by themselves, with just the reload module, not even the dispersion module, were doing most of the heavy lifting, and it was fine. Now, of course, what I've just described to you isn't something that's overly special at tier 10. It's not a ship that is all-powerful or almighty, which of course is going to lead to a lot of players just going, why don't you just play the Zhao? Why don't you just play the Yoshino? Well, because, this is slightly different. It's more close range. You get the, the nice combination of torps, maneuverability, low concealment, and the exhaust smoke that, no other Japanese cruiser has. So it's, it's a pretty interesting gameplay loop, and I was having a pretty good time playing it last night. Again, I wasn't utterly dominating matches or anything, but, considering this is a free ship, and it's a good cruiser at the end of the day, that's a pretty big win. And something that I think, you should definitely go for. But, it's going to fall into kind of the category of, the Eskimo, to where, the Eskimo's not the Kazakh, the almost broken premium ship, so why get the Eskimo? But, yeah, it's a good ship. If you like Japanese cruisers, or if you like open water cruisers, it's going to work for you. I have played a lot of Japanese cruisers. I really like the Zhao. I really like the Yodo. So this was kind of a nice middle ground for me. You get the maneuverability and the detection of the Japanese light cruisers with the firepower of the Japanese heavy cruisers. Albeit, yeah, you don't get the improved accuracy, but again, it was working perfectly fine for me throughout the evening. Even with, the matches right now being what they are, because, this 10th anniversary event, everyone's getting on the game, and they're all, you got players from 2 or 3 years ago that don't really know what's going on, right? So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess right now with matchmaking, and the ship is doing just fine. you know, if you like someone in chat described it as like a Japanese Venezia. That's pretty fair because it's also good at screwing over destroyers with that 5 kilometer hydro. When you build into it, again, it's running for like 2 minutes and change. And, you know, let's say you think there's some destroyers nearby and you can get close enough without the enemy cruisers or enemy battleships seeing you. You pop through your hydro. Now, you've got that guy lit for over 2 minutes with a bunch of Japanese 203mm guns. Yeah, they are not going to have a good time at all. So, pretty good for that, too. Now, she also doesn't get the submarine surveillance consumable that the other Japanese cruisers get. Granted, considering, you know, the other consumables that they gave this ship, okay, I can see that. But, all in all, for a free cruiser, a free Tier 10 premium ship, pretty good deal, in my humble opinion. Like, this thing's free. You don't even have to gamble for it. That's pretty good, in my opinion. This is another Tier 10 premium ship that you could add to your fleet. You'll get additional rewards for it, like right now with the Festive Rewards event. When the snowflakes come along, that's another ship to get on your to get snowflakes for, and it's another Tier 10 premium ship. So, in my mind, it's a no-brainer to pick this thing up. Now, of course, if you like really want the super containers or something, yeah, I get that. I get why you might want to pick that over the Kushiro, but like this is a guaranteed Tier 10 premium ship rather than, you know, rolling the dice with the super containers. So if you've got the ships in your port to get the Kushiro, I would definitely get it. Like, again, at the end of the day, at the bare minimum, it's a free Tier 10 premium ship. They don't hand those out every day. They really don't anymore. Even though we are getting a bunch of free stuff in it. Well, they do if you've been playing for 10 years. You do get a free Tier 10 premium ship. But like normally, even during the anniversary events, that tends to not happen. So just on like that principle by itself, I'd say yeah, get it. On the other side of things, it's a pretty good like heavy cruiser. Yeah, heavy cruiser because it's got 203s. It's a pretty good heavy cruiser. If you've played open water HE spammy heavy cruisers, you know how to play the Kushiro. You can just get a little spicy with the smoke screen and such. Smoke screen's great for disengaging too, and the firing bloom from within the smoke is only 7 kilometers, so you can pop that. And again, with the build that I have, I was able to get, you know, with adrenaline rush and all going like 6 or 7 salvos completely undetected from 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers in on some enemy ships. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good in my book. So, yeah, Kushiro is very much worth it in my opinion. If I had to give the Kushiro a numerical rating, which I will, I give her a 7 out of 10. She's definitely above average. If you had to pay for it, I would probably give it a 6 out of 10. Now, I think, too, with, like, a lot of people, the rating system's kind of skewed in their mind. If they don't think it's like an 8 or 9 out of 10, it's not good. No, 6 is above average. Like, 5 is average, which isn't bad. It's just average. 6 is above average. This is an average cruiser by itself. Like, if you had to cough over coal or doubloons to get it, it'd be a 6 out of 10. But this is a free ship, so in my opinion, that raises it to a 7 out of 10. The pros being those 203mm guns with the 360 turrets. You get the great HE on top of all that. Great fire chance, nice alpha. You get the smoke. The exhaust smoke consumable on top of the 5-kilometer hydro. You do get a hill, thank God, which is something this ship most definitely needs. Great concealment, great rudder shift time. Downsides, of course, being, well, it has no armor. Granted, no armor, best armor in a lot of cases, too. So you have that, but of course, when a battleship finds your citadel, 1 or 2 more shells gather in the name of a citadel on a Japanese cruiser, they're going to find it, right? So you very much have that to worry about. Of course, the shell drag does get a little bad, like not a little bad, very bad at range. And the torps are only 8 kilometers too, so they're only really useful from quite dangerous ranges with the Kushiro. But again, that is definitely where the smoke generator comes into play. It doesn't get the ASW consumable that the rest of the Japanese cruisers get. But in my mind, again, great ship, 10,000 festive tokens, free tier 10 premium ship. Even if you aren't interested in Japanese cruisers right now, I would still recommend getting it, because you'll eventually get there in your World of Warships career. I never thought I'd play the Zao a day in my life when I started playing World of Warships, and turns out I got a pretty big soft spot for her. So yeah. But anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on the Kushiro. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.